I'm Ken Ross.
I'm Aaron Ross, and this is the third video in the series here. This is the third fatal mistake that CEOs make when creating predictable revenue, and this is what it's about.
And the third fatal mistake is something we've all experienced or done, which is setting unrealistic goals.
So let's talk about some of the reasons why CEOs set unrealistic revenue goals. Firstly, oftentimes a CEO can be blind to the fact of whether the company is ready to grow or not. So you really want to be honest with yourself of, hey, is the market ready? Is the product ready? And do you have a sales process that's in place that can actually help you grow faster?
And the second point is the need to possibly satisfy overly optimistic investors who have made an investment, want to have a rapid growth, and might not be realistic about what you're able to do.
Sometimes you're in a place where you really do need more cash flow, whether to survive or grow, and that forces you to set bigger goals.
And there could be a transaction in progress or contemplated, an IPO, M&A, or a funding event where outsiders have made projections or are expecting a certain growth rate for your company.
So, and lastly, there's the CEO ego, where, of course, you want to keep up with competitors or peers and not feel like you're being left behind.
Okay, let's spend a minute and talk about investor board expectations. This is often one of the most difficult issues that a CEO has to face when dealing with the goal-setting process. Often there's a divergence of goals between investors and the CEO. Investors typically want to have a big win. They've got a portfolio of companies, and they can afford to lose 9 out of 10 if that 110 is a huge win. Whereas the CEO might have his or her entire net worth tied up in a single company and really want to be more conservative and manage the business over the longer term. And the investors have egos too, which is a factor in driving companies to set aggressive goals. They have their partners, they have their competitors, they have other portfolio companies that all enter into the equation. How do you deal with this issue when you're managing a company? So first, you want to really be smart about the investors you choose, whether you're raising money from VCs, banks, or bootstrapping yourself. And second, frequent and open communication with your investor group and your board is always a good thing.
Realistically assess your company stage. When I was CEO of Lease Exchange, I made a terrible mistake of, I was in that yellow zone of having a little bit of early growth, nice growth, and then immediately, because of my impatience to grow and investors, pushed the pedal to the metal and hired a bunch of salespeople and spent a lot of money, and the company basically burned out and crashed because I tried to grow before we were ready. You have to be really honest with yourself. Where are you in your stage? You're not ready to grow fast until you're growing fast. In other words, you can't push on a string. So is there anything that's pulling your growth, that's signaling that it's time to invest and grow faster? Be smart and be patient. Don't hire more salespeople until your first few are actually hitting their quota. And beta test your marketing and sales processes until you have something that works and it's repeatable. Because then you know that you can invest a lot of time and energy and you'll get a great return on it and not waste it all, or even put your company at risk.
The consequences of unrealistic goals can be dramatic for the organization. Most obviously is the financial impact. Typically, you'll make your spending plan even if you miss your revenue goals, and that results in negative cash flow, reduced profit expectations, or whatever. It also damages your credibility with your investors and your board, and these are the people that you might need to provide additional financing if you're missing your plan. It results in high turnover, especially in the sales organization, and potentially in the executive suite, up to and including yourself, the CEO. And it often initiates the drama of resetting compensation plans in the sales organization if you really decide that you need to do that to retain your high performers. It leads you to the other question, should you or should you not fire the VP of sales? Is it his or her fault, or is it more the fault of the structural issues within the organization that we've talked about in prior videos? The bottom line, spend a lot of time, really focus on the whole annual planning process where you set the goals so that people both buy into the goals and so that the goals reflect the reality of the company and they're achievable yet aggressive. We want to thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed these 3 topics. I'm Ken Ross. I'm the founder and CEO of Expert CEO. It's an online community for senior executives.
And I'm Aaron Ross, author of Predictable Revenue. Again, really appreciate you joining us for these presentations, and would love to hear from you, whether questions, feedback, or just to reach out and say hi.